Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening.
This was a moment that many in the Tory campaign thought would never happen. Rishi Sunak has managed to secure Boris Johnson, finally, just 36 hours out of polling day, to turn up on the stump. It's being spun, I think, as Rishi Sunak asking Boris Johnson to join him. Don't forget, these two have incredible bad blood. Whether this makes any difference this late in the campaign remains to be seen. But it seems the Tories are bringing in all the big guns tonight under a ginormous helicopter that actually looks a little bit something like a Vietnam film.
Can I first of all say how wonderful it is to see you all again? I feel deprived of your company, and how grateful I am to all of you for everything that you've been doing over the last few weeks, and for coming so late tonight to this venue, way past Sir Keir Starmer's bedtime. Yeah, so now, if you're slightly surprised to see me, I want to be absolutely clear that I was glad when Rishi asked me to help. Of course I couldn't say no. And I'm here for one reason and one reason only, which is the same reason as all of you, all of us are here. We're here because we love our country. And whatever our differences, they are utterly trivial by comparison with the disaster we may face if these so-called opinion polls are right. And it's still an if. I think and hope the British people will show more sense on Thursday and draw back from the brink. But if these polls are right, then at the very moment when this country has beaten COVID and beaten post-COVID inflation, at the very moment when we should be encouraging enterprise and growth and putting some money into home ownership and putting some money into people's pockets, Westminster is about to go in diametrically the opposite direction. 5 years ago, you helped to send Jeremy Corbyn and his then disciple, Keir Starmer, into orbit where they belonged, and we got Brexit done. We restored democracy. And is it not therefore the height of insanity, if these polls are right, that we are about to give Labour a supermajority, which they will use to make us nothing but the punk of Brussels? Too many good, kind, moderate Tories are about to vote for other parties, apparently, and thereby get exactly the opposite of what they really want. Even if those other parties turn out to be full of Kremlin crawlers who actually make excuses for Putin's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. They say Putin's a good operator, puffing their cheroots. Putin's a good operator, runs a tight ship, you know. Well, if that's what they mean by a man who shoots journalists and poisons his opponents and murders thousands of innocent Ukrainian civilians, I say shame on them. They can achieve nothing at this election except to usher in the most left-wing Labour government since the war with a huge majority, and we must not let it happen. Don't let the Putinistas deliver the Corbynistas. Don't let Putin's pet parrots give this entire country psittacosis, which is a disease you get, by the way, from cozying up to pet parrots. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, if you actually want higher taxes next week, this year, if you feel you've got a few thousand to spare, then vote Labour on Thursday. If you want uncontrolled immigration and mandatory wokery and pointless kow-towing to Brussels again, then go right ahead, make my day, vote for Starmer. But if you want to protect our democracy and our economy and keep this country strong abroad by spending 2.5% of our GDP on defence, which Labour still refuses to commit to, then you know what to do, don't you, everybody? Yeah. There's only one thing to do. Vote Conservative on Thursday, my friends. And I know you will. I know you will.
So there we have it. Don't let the Putinistas deliver the Corbynistas. A fairly classically Johnsonian mixed metaphor there, but probably the most devastating takedown of Reform and Nigel Farage that anyone's managed. And here we have the Prime Minister. You'll note they didn't share the stage there together. They weren't on the platform for longer than a couple of split seconds. But for followers of Tory party history, quite an important part at the moment. There is a lot of bad blood between Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson. They appear to have semi buried the hatchet tonight under that threat of what is looking like a massive Labour majority in 36 hours.
Well, first of all, I've got to thank Boris for being here. Thank him for his support. Isn't it great? Isn't it great to have our Conservative family united, my friends? Yeah! Right. Just think, it was just the other day when Keir Starmer was saying that Jeremy Corbyn would have been a better Prime Minister than Boris. Shameful. Can you imagine what that would have meant for Ukraine? What would have meant for our country's security, our defence? The damage it would have done to our economy. In both 2017 and 2019, Keir Starmer put his personal ambition ahead of our country's national interests. And that is just one of the many reasons that over the next 48 hours, we must do everything we can to stop him getting into number 10. Now, Boris is right to say now is the time for all Conservatives to come together to deny Labour that supermajority that Keir Starmer craves. We have 48 hours to save Britain from the danger of a Labour government. We have got to make sure that Britain does not sleepwalk into this. It is our job, it is our duty to spend the next 48 hours waking everyone up to the danger of a Labour government. So I say to all of you, I say to every Conservative, don't surrender to Labour, fight for every vote, fight for our values. It suits lots of people to say that the result of this election is a foregone conclusion. But I know that it is not. Just 130,000 people switching their vote, giving us their support, is what it will take to deny Labour that supermajority they want. Every single door you knock, every single leaflet you deliver, every single call you make over the next 48 hours can make the difference. You know, there's been a lot of talk about our collective record over the past 14 years in this campaign. But I'll tell you this, in 2010, starting with David's leadership, we rescued this country from Labour's bankruptcy. But we have to acknowledge that in spite of that, people are hesitant about giving us their support again in this election. And I am not blind to their frustrations with me, with our party. It's been a very difficult few years for our country. And of course, we haven't got everything right. We haven't made as much progress in every area as we would have liked. But I say to everybody, this Thursday is not a by-election. It is a choice about the future of our country, and that choice has severe consequences for your family if you get it wrong. I love our country for what it has done for my family. My grandparents came here with very little, and 2 generations there later, I stand here with the enormous privilege of being not just having been your Chancellor, but being your Prime Minister. My story would not be possible in any other country. And so if I have the enormous privilege of continuing to serve as your Prime Minister, I will work day and night to deliver for you and deliver for everyone in our country, just as this country has changed my family's lives. But as we come to the end of this election, our message is clear. It is only our Conservative Party that can deliver the financial security that families need with tax cuts. It is only our Conservative Party that shares people's values of hard work, of aspiration, of opportunity, of security. It is only our Conservative Party that will stand up for everyone. So I say this again. Do not surrender to Labour. Let's get out there and fight for every vote. Let's fight for our values. Let's fight for our vision of Britain. Thank you.
Mr Gove, happy to see Boris Johnson back on the stage?
Delighted.
Did you think he upstaged the Prime Minister a little bit there?
No, I think it was a great team effort.